renovation project of the Lord has started, and that call for their purification. So for me to be purified, it means that I should be willing. I should allow the Lord to work in my area of life, but also I should be willing to know what do I need to do. Why? Because lack of knowledge is not an excuse. So we have to get to know how can we live a life in the midst of having a bad sexual feeling but not committing sin. There are steps that I want to share with you, and the first step, number one, is acknowledge and admit that you have uh, a, a high urge of committing sin. Why? Because whenever someone fails to acknowledge, to admit that they are vulnerable to sinning, there's no way they can escape the trap of the enemies. Why? Because when someone doesn't understand the magnitude of what they are going to, there's no way they can escape. And that's what make us to really, we should learn to know that it is not something simple. So that is the first and the key important thing that we can really not take it for granted. That if we want to overcome sexual immorality, we should admit and acknowledge that we are struggling. And we are struggling. Why? Because sometimes you may think that you are not committing sexual thing, like what I've learned today, that I may not be doing the practical sexual thing, but I may be masturbating, I may be watching pornography. And that's the area that God wants our mind to be pure. That what do I watch with my eyes? What do I hear with my ears? Because those are the instruments that immoralities enter in. So putting attention on this one, I'm trying to be reminded why Jesus would say that if your eyes want you not to go to heaven, pluck it off, cut your ears. But I'm seeing Jesus wanted us to see the magnitude of how we have to deal in all ways. Because when we fail to acknowledge that we are struggling in sexual sin, in pornography, watching pornographies, all other sins, sexual sin needs some people to be around. But pornography, you don't need anyone. You only need your phone, you need your internet, and these are something that me and you and all of us, we should be attentive so that God will help us into it. And then even as we continue, the second steps that can also help us is that we should be a people who set time alone with God. Having a retreat with God, conversing with Him, telling Him how we are struggling. Because even if you don't tell Him, He knows. But remember, the first answers of prayer is asking. So we should be able to ask God, tell Him how we are struggling, that we are not pure, so that God will give you a revelation knowledge on how to live in that situation or how to overcome it. So ask God. And you can ask God, you should not ask God in the noisy places. Time alone, have time with God, and continue to asking Him that this is my area of weaknesses. I'm struggling in this area, and I need you to deliver me. And mind you, God is a Father, and He is a deliverer, He is a King. He is going to meet you at your point of need. So, what are your struggles? Set time alone. Be with God. Have retreat with Him. Let Him speak to you in Bible reading, in scripture memory, so that He can guide you on which path you need to take on. Otherwise, you will keep on living and you would forget that you need to do something. And friend, I want also